Hey, everybody, welcome to another fun-filled show. I guarantee you, here on this Saturday afternoon, I'm going to be speaking with Mike Oeming, and we're going to be looking at some new art for sale, talking about what's been going on in his world. I know he's got a few new projects that have been announced and that he's been working on of late. So it's going to be an interesting chat. I appreciate everybody tuning in on a Saturday afternoon to hang out with us. So without further ado, let me bring Mike into the show. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Hey, Bill, how's it going, man?
It's going pretty well. I mean, my voice sounds a little gravelly. I think everybody in the chat has probably knows I was under the weather, but other than that, everything's great, man. Really, so many great things happening around CAF and the virtual shows we've been doing. We had that that successful in-person show back in January. So just lots of fun things going on in my world of late, and I hope the same for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm keeping busy with work. All kinds of. I'm in love with all the projects that I'm working on, so that's always a plus. But yeah, watching you with the community and watching, like, a lot of times I'll just tune in just because of who you're talking to and the interview parts, and that's what I try and encourage people here. Like, it is an art show. We are selling stuff, but there's also it's that aspect of just the interview and talking about our new projects and what's going on in the comics community and stuff. So hopefully lots of people will just come just for that, just to come hang out. There's no pressure for anything else, and I really look forward to these things because, as we were discussing before, we don't get out very much.
Yes, I know. I think the last time we did this was in October. So yeah, for me, since then we had one of our virtual shows in November, and yeah, it's been a busy 6 months in between since our last talk. But yeah, that's true. I always forget you guys don't get to go out to shows too often. I mean, do you have any that are planned, or do you just kind of pretty much?
We actually do.
You do?
The beginning of June, we're going to do a signing down in Eugene at the Books with Pictures for William of Newberry, which is one of the new projects.
Yep.
And then we have plans on a library show in Boise, Idaho, which will be our first sort of flying thing. So one of the reasons there's two reasons why we don't travel much. One is some health reasons, which most people know. Mm-hmm. So that kind of came about before the pandemic, and then the pandemic kept us from going out, and it's just a lot of adjusting and figuring things. So the Boise thing will be our first flight. So we'll be able to kind of test out what's that like. It's a short flight, so if it's not great, it's not a problem. So we're excited to start testing, getting out further and further, to start getting out in the community more. The other reason, just because I'm working on several projects at once, and I'm happy with that, and I like that. But conventions, they can put a ding in your schedule and productivity and stuff. So those are things that keep us in. But we're going to try more to get out there more and face to face. There's a lot of people we miss, a lot of fans we made pals with that we really only see at cons. Same thing with other artists. Other artists we're pretty close with just because of our art connection. But it's been 5-6 years sometimes to see people. So yeah. So yeah, looking forward to getting out more for sure.
Cool. Well, if you're ever available to go to OEX, just let me know. It is a cool show. We tried to invite a lot of artists, that whose spouses were in the business or who work with them, and in one way or another. And it was a really, really fun show. I mean, I can't tell you how much I think even the collectors. I think we probably sold 50 couples tickets, right? And we had couples tickets. It worked pretty much exactly like we kind of hoped, right? I mean, art collecting is something you can share with everybody in your family, and if you can't share with your spouse, then there's a problem, right? But
sure, and you can even give sketches out to kids who aren't necessarily they don't really care about the artist. They care about what the sketch is, and that's for them and that sort of thing. Yeah. And also, I would assume your shows are much more comic centric because of the nature of it. There's an appreciation for the other things around the culture, but those really truly are about the comics themselves.
Very true. Very, very true. Well, you'll have to tell me how the thing in Boise goes.
Absolutely, yeah. Fingers crossed. We're pretty excited about it. Also, it's the first library show that we're doing. And it's a library-oriented comic show, graphic novels and stuff. So that's pretty exciting.
Interesting. So I assume they reached out to you guys about just because of your collaborations in the past, and it just was a good fit.
Yeah, our collaborations, and Taki's book does well in libraries, super outstanding, the original OGN. biography piece. So obviously that's very attractive to libraries and such. So it's probably actually her who got me to in that circumstance.
That's probably true, Mike. Is this true? You once arm wrestled Michael. EC arm wrestled you and you lost miserably. You have a secret to arm wrestling?
I can't say who I lost to because I don't remember my losses. I do remember that I won like 50 something out of 70 something arm wrestling matches. We used to arm wrestle at for Heroes Initiative. And one year I did it without announcing it. Like we just did it, right? So it was a lot of fun. We raised a lot of money. And then the next year there were people up for revenge who were like literally training all year.
I was gonna say, they spent a whole year.
And then the third year they were just sitting in ringers, like people who just like they just came in like all like buffed out and like none of their tattoos were comic related. So and that's when I realized eventually I'm going to snap something. So. But it was a lot of fun, and there's some video out there of the arm wrestling. Gail Simone beating me was one of them, I think.
I'm assuming on YouTube, right? I'm gonna look for that after the show.
Yeah, I'll link it down here. I'll come back into the comments and I'll paste it in.
All right. Was this McLaughlin's idea, or did you come up with that?
It probably came out of like BarCon stuff. Like I'm sure I was arm wrestling somebody at a bar, and then Jim was like, "Hey, Mike, why don't you remember?"
That's how Jim usually pitches ideas to me, so that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, a beer or two always bring out a good idea.
Yeah, no, but so tell me about the current projects, the ones that have been most recently announced. I'm a little bit out of the loop on the last couple of months of things that have been going on. So yeah, fill me in, because you mentioned some BPRD work as well.
Yes, yeah. So Rose City Con last year, we pseudo announced this new BPRD comic that Chris Roberson is writing, that I'm drawing. It takes place in the 1950s with flashbacks to the 1890s. I don't want to give too much of the story away because we've only just kind of sort of let it be known that we were doing this thing, but there wasn't like a real announcement either. There was a print that was put out, so that's the only reason I'm really talking about it. I don't know the release date yet. It's 4 issues. For your fans out there, I am drawing all of it except for a couple pages analog. So there'll be lots of art for it. There's Hellboy makes an appearance in there. Really excited about it. Obviously, Mike Mignola was a big influence on me, and I was one of the first people to do a BPRD story when Mike started to expand the universe. And back when I turned 50, not that long ago, I was looking back on my career and really happy with where things had gone and asked what I wanted to do more of. And I realized, like, I'm such a fan of his universe, and I did some BPRD stuff, and I've done a few things here and there since. I was like, I want to do more. So I just reached out to Mike and the editors, and I was like, let's do more stuff. And that's kind of how it came about. So I'm working on a BPRD story now. Official announcements will come out from Dark Horse soon. Blue Book is continuing with James Tynion. 1947 is the current series that's out. Having a lot of fun with that. We've got some new stuff for Blue Book coming up, which we don't quite want to announce yet, but it's going to be a little different. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to grab people. Then we've just announced at Dark Horse, my next big creator-owned series is called William of Newbury. And William of Newbury is based on a true story of a medieval monk who was England's first historian. And he wrote about the first early histories. There was this time period called the Anarchy where there was this, it was unclear who was the successor of the throne. In fact, a lot of Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, a lot of it is based on this, about Queen Matilda and King Stephen. And so while he was writing these real histories, he was also recording about the dead coming back to life and ghost stories and stuff. But he was writing them. He was a Christian monk at that time. That was just seen as just part of their world. So I'm counting them as true stories, and I'm doing them in this anthropomorphic setting. The reason for that was I wanted to find other layers of like, whoa, what if I did it straightforward, there's a little less metaphor about what I can say with the characters and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of sort of layers that I found that I can tell with an anthropomorphic story. That I'm also drawing all analog as well, and I'm coloring and lettering it. So it's the first full series I'm doing everything on. And the first issue of that will be out this May from Dark Horse Comics. Obviously, if you like Hellboy or Usagi Yojimbo, it's sort of a combination of those two things. Lots of spookiness, but fun. I think it's any age can read it, but it's really aimed at our generation who grew up on like Secret of Nim and the sort of slightly darker, spookier children's stuff.
This sounds right up your alley. I mean,
it definitely is.
And the things I know you're passionate about. So that sounds like fun.
I'm very passionate about it. In fact, I'm hoping, and I'll just straight out ask all the viewers out there, like their pre-orders really matter on this. I want to do more of these stories. Often in comics, the best thing that you can get is that your book didn't cost anybody money. But what I want to do is be able to have it successful enough that we can do 2 or 3 more volumes of these stories at least. So I'd like to see this return, and I just have to ask people to support it with pre-orders and word of mouth when the book comes out. If you like it, please tell people and stuff. I'm really passionate about it. It has the visual stuff that I love, the spookiness and anthropomorphic stuff. And there's history, like I'm using the actual stories that William of Newburgh wrote about. So I'm not even making up new stories. I'm adjusting them, but these are literally based on his accounts, like the stuff that he said was happening at the time. And there's some historical stuff in there as well. So I'm just super excited about it and really passionate about it. So I hope it does well.
I'm trying to Google it. I see people saying the connecting cover is awesome.
Oh yeah, that was the thing we did. Just all 4 issues connect to make one large image. So issues 1, 2, 3, and 4, they're literally running across the scene, and each cover sort of reflects what's happening within that issue still. So it tells a story.
I have found it. That's awesome.
Oh, thanks. It'll be out in end of May.
Wow, that's. Is it? So is it? You said how many issues is it?
It's 4 issues. 4 issues. Yeah.
So May through August.
Yeah. May through August through Dark Horse Comics, and I'll just find me on the socials and I'll be promoting it as much as possible. And lots of interviews are out there. We have a really cool trailer that we're working on. My friend Sean McManus, who's a professional film editor, has been putting together. So I think probably when the first issue that is out, we'll release the trailer.
Very cool. Well, William Britton's got the order code right there.
For everybody. Thank you, William. William's awesome. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
And then we've also announced through Mad Cave, which is this amazing company that kind of they've been around for 10 years, but in the last 5 years, they've really been setting things on fire. And we have a book coming out through them called Galaxy of Madness, which is written and co-created with Max Visaggio and Taki. And it was something we had started back during the pandemic. And it's this big, crazy science fiction story that's really character and family driven. But it's kind of got a Silver Age throwback vibe to it. We're having a lot of fun with that on the covers. The covers, I can't wait to show you because they're actually the whole series is so fun. But the covers, once we've really leaned into the Silver Age stuff and we start doing blurbs, some of the covers that have panels on them and that sort of thing. So we're just having tons of fun on it.
Old fashioned.
Yeah.
But it's just literally just visually so fun.
Yeah, super fun. And Taki and I are just doing because at the time with the pandemic, we had planned on doing it just digitally because we just weren't sure what was going on. Because it was pencils down and there was the distributors were all out and stuff. So we really threw out a lot of the rules and sort of boundaries that we usually have. And we're going to do long pages and tall pages. And that brought out some really interesting sort of layouts and storytelling techniques. And Mags just wrote these great characters. That was the reason why I said yes to the book was her story was really big. And usually I stick to smaller stories. Like in my own, there are 4 issues. I just don't know. This one is a much longer story.
10 issues?
10 issues altogether, I believe. Yeah. And it was just the characters that she wrote that dragged me in. So I really think people are gonna like this too. It's completely different than anything else that I've done before. Maybe Cave Carson is the closest in tone, because it's like fun and crazy, over the top fantasy, but with a family driven dynamic. There we go. There's some of the art.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna pop up there as soon as we get into there. But yeah, no, that's awesome. I can't wait to see what this is like. I love Cave Carson. I bought a couple pages after I read the book. It was fantastic. So yeah, if this has the same kind of feel, I mean, clearly just looking at the characters, they look out of the ordinary. And
for sure.
I got to about them.
Yeah, I got to dip into a lot of my influences. So there's a tiny bit of Star Wars, but I mean, not really, not in the aesthetic, but there's a feeling of that for me in there, of what I loved about Star Wars when I was a kid. I'm a lot of Flash Gordon. There's a lot of, like, if you're a super nerd like me, there's a science fiction show called Blake 7 that came out. And it was a British show that came out around the time of Doctor Who in the 70s. So there's a lot of that in there, and a lot of Nexus. I was a big fan of Nexus, especially the way Steve Rue just kind of blended Saturday morning cartoons, superhero outfits, and science fiction, retro science fiction all together. So it was a lot of fun.
Well, Josh Flanders agrees that he enjoys your work. Post Powers has been intriguing and fun.
Oh, thank you.
I agree. Let's see,
Thanks. I mean, I learned so much from Powers. My art grew at Powers, and then afterwards, there's been more experiences with just different forms of storytelling. Even what we're doing on Murder Inc. With Brian, a bunch of new stuff there. We have a new series with Brian too that we've got 3 issues completed of, and we haven't even announced yet. So there's so much on the horizon. There's a little too much coming out sometimes. I don't work on it all at the same time, but sometimes scheduling wise, they come out together. So it can be difficult to sort of give a voice of clarity of like what to pay attention to right now. So that's why it's a great reason to sign up for my newsletter, which you can kind of find anywhere on social media. And I'll post a link down to it later here. And that's kind of the easiest way to keep track of stuff.
Well, yeah, post it in the private chat, and then I'll put it on there because, actually, Taki can do it in the chat because she's
okay. Yeah.
Well, she maybe not. They don't. YouTube is a little restrictive on putting links in there, so it might be easier to paste it in the private chat, and then I'll copy it, and I can do it because I'm an admin. So
okay, and then also if you just find me anywhere on my social media, I'm posting about it all the time.
All right, and hey, I did find. I wanted to show that William of Newbury cover as well, since.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, look at that. That's awesome.
And I got to have fun with. I mean, this is a good example where I was talking about sort of using these metaphors for the storytelling. So like, there's reasons why they are animals and they're not people, but why we see dead beings as people. And I don't want to sort of get it. I like to have the readers figure that out for themselves, but. When I decided to do anthropomorphic, I had to ask myself, well, why animals versus just telling it as a straightforward person? And that helped to inform both the story and how I was going to execute the whole thing. So I put a lot of thought into it, and just really hope people check it out. I mean, the dancing skeletons are so fun. They're a big theme throughout the whole story. Skeletons dancing in the sky is just, I don't know. I could just do a whole book like that.
So what kind of research did you have to do for this book, though? I assume a fair amount, right? Just to kind of get a good bearing. Because how do you take something grounded in reality in its own way, and then expand on it in a different way? I mean, you have to probably be pretty knowledgeable.
Yeah. So it started with Blue Book, oddly enough. So James Tinian was doing these backup stories for Blue Book called True Weird, and one of the weirdest stories I've always loved was this story from the 12th century about these green children that showed up in England in this place called Woolpit. It's called the Green Children of Woolpit. It's the name of the story. And they were literally, their skin was green, their clothes were green. They, and by all counts, this part's definitely true, that these green children just showed up. The explanation is whatever, right? So one of them died through malnutrition. The other eventually just continued to live and learn English. And the story that this kid was telling was fantastical. It was about being from basically this fairy world called St. Martin's Land. if you play Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you actually run into these kids and you can kind of interact with them a little bit. But the kid basically story was that it was from this fairy realm. Other people at the time were saying, well, they're probably the Flemish children who were caught in this war and they were malnourished and that's why they didn't speak the language and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, through that story, I retold that story in Blue Book #1 in the True Weird Stories. So I fell in love with, I had been in love with the story before, but once I drew it, I really fell in love with it. And through doing the research, that's where I learned about William of Newbury, who was kind of called the first vampire hunter because while he wasn't out doing it, he was recording all these stories. And that's where I got interested in the story. And at that point, I had already long been interested in medieval history in Europe. So I knew a little bit about this time called the Anarchy, where there was a civil war. There's a lot of television shows and movies either based on or set during that time period. So when this all kind of came in, like it just clicked into my head kind of all at once. So I had already known some of the research. The hardest research was reading William's actual writing because it was written in Old English. And then I'm not sure if it was translated from Old English or it was just, I don't know, it was just hard to read. But, you know, finding those stories in the way he wrote them out was it was interesting. It was hard because he would just mix ghost and demon stories right in the middle of just regular, straightforward histories, you know, about some king falling off his horse or a merchant who was ripped off here. And then, you know, this demon tripped him on his way and stuff. And, you know, so it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I can't wait for it to come out. I can't wait to get back into that world.
Yeah, times were definitely different back then. You know, it's when you could mix in, you know, those kinds of allegorical stories, you know, into your your actual, you know, nonfiction work, right? It's just it's funny when you look back at that. But yeah, it's been a long time since I've tried to read anything in Old English.
Yeah, and it's weird that like. It's a weird thing to say, but the plague stuff was really fun. So there's a lot of plague in here. The time period actually, like there wasn't that much plague. There was always some sort of sickness breaking out, but I kind of mixed in plague stuff in there because I felt like it was, again, a good metaphor for sort of things falling apart, and whether it's, you know, physically or spiritually. You know, and then just drawing something that could be for kids, but has piles of dead bodies burning, you know, was lots of fun.
Well, that's I'm looking forward to both, and you know, again, I'm looking at more images of Galaxy of Madness, and I'm so very intrigued now. I keep using the word
fun, but it was just so fun, you know, like doing that sort of, you know, old school action stuff. I hadn't done a lot of that in a while. You know, it's been a lot of like Murder Inc. and Blue Book, right? So it was like really fun to do like space lasers and spaceships and weird aliens and, you know, but also not taken too seriously, so you can really have fun with retro Silver Age designs and stuff.
Well, that's a lot to look forward to. And you're busy, man. It's funny, you know, I always like, before I interview anybody, I always go to like comics.org and I like to see like what's the most recent stuff that is on, credited to you. And I'm like, I looked at it and I'm like, well, there's not a lot of new stuff on Mike's stuff. I know that, I saw the new Blue Book was on there. And but now that we're talking, it's like, shoot, man, you've got like 6 major projects in the works that are all going to be coming out, you know, probably later this year. Yeah. I mean, this is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's the scheduling that's weird because I'm constantly working on stuff. So the other things I haven't mentioned is like Taki and I have finished up our graphic novel based on Van Gogh. So that we're going to do. I'm not going to announce quite yet how we're going to do it, but there's that. Working on a project I'm developing with Mark Russell. And I said, it's Brian Taki and I working on a book that, there's 2 or 3 issues of that are finished. Got another project I'm working on with Douglas Rushkoff. And then I'm basically writing stuff that I won't get to draw probably for about 2 years. So that's I just layer a project. I say yes, and then figure out where it fits in.
There's a lot of job security in that, though, Mike. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and then luckily I'm in a position where if I have an idea, there are ways to get it done. Because it is harder, you know, it's harder when you're more work for hire, you know, and you're knocking on the editor's doors and stuff. And sometimes I do that. I mean, that's what the BPRD thing was. Like, I'm not afraid to ask for work. I'll go and talk to an editor. You know, if I had more time, I do have like one Batman story in me. I would talk to DC about it, but I just don't even have right now. I don't have the time for it. But asking isn't something that you should grow out of as a professional. You know, you should always be looking for work, whether you're creating it yourself, and put your ego aside and ask a company, you know, hey, I want to draw this character. Do you have space over here and stuff? And yeah, you have to invest in yourself.
I mean, and, you know, I've never had to do that. Just the different stuff that I, you know, because I'm not in that kind of a career work for hire like that. But I assume you've been turned down at the same time you've been, you know,
sure,
brought in for stuff. I mean,
sure. Oh, I've had projects where I couldn't find homes for.
Yep.
You know, in fact, you know, the Van Gogh that we were pitching around, we were talking to book publishers, and what we found was interesting was because it's not a YA book and it's not a true biography book. There's not an actual sort of pre-sale slot for it.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's not a category. Yeah. So like, and it's not that anybody didn't like the project. Sometimes it has to do with the marketability of it, like what that company is like or not like and stuff. So there's that. I've had other projects where, I just had trouble finding a home for it. Some of my stuff is really weird. I don't write stuff thinking who's the audience for this. I think who the audience is for it once I start to execute it, you know, or market it. But, you know, some of these ideas are weird and they don't have an audience really. It's like, I just got to hope somebody else finds these weird things interesting, you know?
Yeah. And like the marketing part is where we are
the worst.
Like we lack experience in.
Yeah.
And I think most creators are like that.
Yeah, it's so much easier to make comics for us than it is to market them or sell them. You know, it's just not. It's an art form. I appreciate that people can do that. Like I am jealous of people who have that natural skill of like, hey, here's my thing. This is why you should buy it. This is what it's about. Blah blah blah. You know.
No,
yeah,
well,
that's story. I just can't.
I can sympathize with you there too. I mean, you know, I've never been great at marketing calf, but I get it. You know, it's like, you know, anybody who's creative these days has to do all of that. You know, you have to be able to market yourself, do the artwork, do the pitches, be able to get in front of the camera. You know that you. I don't know. You know.
Yeah.
Any creative person these days is very challenged. I mean, there's so many things working against you to get any kind of project, you know, into production.
And I think we all know this, whether you're a professional comic artist or somebody such yourself with a YouTube channel and selling art, or just a person who just wants to share their ideas, the way that social media algorithms have changed, and have changed for the worse, it's harder now. Like I have a large audience on both Twitter and Instagram, but to get people to actually see those posts, like the algorithm has to be right in these right settings, the right timings and stuff. So like getting your message out isn't as easy as it used to be, especially now because we shifted away from websites and journalistic stuff to social media, but now social media is dead and we've destroyed, you know, the sort of journalistic side of it too. So it's like, you know, now it's just spaghetti at the wall at this point. A lot of effort and you're not sure what the results are.
No, I completely agree with you there. I mean, well, everything's, you know, you have to boost your posts, you have to like spend money. And even then, that doesn't guarantee anything. I mean, I've tried it, and I don't feel like I've been successful at doing it at all. You know, whether it's trying to do ticket sales for OAX, or we started up something with the upcoming virtual show. I tried boosting a post that way, and you never see the right. You know, the engagement it's so elusive. You can't really tell if it's worth it or not. So
it's unnatural because your audience isn't seeing it, which is the strangest thing. It's like, well, why can't the people and the people I'm following, you know how many times like I'll come across like an artist who I love and I'm like, I haven't seen their work in months and they're posting all of this time and I didn't see it, you know? So it's a little frustrating for sure. But again, that's why it's great to have them a newsletter. And it's my newsletter, you won't miss out on anything. And I only put that out like every 2 or 3 months. I try not to be obnoxious about it.
I don't think I'm on your newsletter, so I think I need to correct that.
Okay.
I'm not on it, and I actually don't know how do you sign up for your newsletter?
You'll find it in my social media posts. It's
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So is there a link? Because I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, I think it's in at least on X. Actually, I have a Lincoln tree on my Instagram and on X that'll link to it.
I'm fine.
But you see how hard even that is to explain it? It's like there's so many hurdles and stuff.
I know I don't even use Linktree, but I can. I've got it right here. I'm gonna paste it. Hopefully, it's not too long.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love it too.
That's probably see what I mean about like marketing yourself. Like if I had said that 5 minutes earlier, oh, I have a link tree attached to most of my social media sites, and you can find everything there.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, I think everybody, obviously Linktree became, pretty popular in the last year and a half. It's because everything is in a disparate location anymore. You needed something like that was universal and could tie all of your socials and anything that you were working on independently together in one place. So yeah. Sorry, there we go. So at least I got that out there.
Right, thank you.
Losing my voice again, but you we know you've been working with Tinian a lot, and on the Project Blue Book stuff. I mean, and I think we might have talked a little bit about him, but Tinian seems to be a guy who's very a lot of people want to work with him, and what's as in working with him. I mean, how does that kind of compare or contrast to working with Bendis, for instance? I mean, is there
actually very similar? It's very similar because they're both. Obviously, they're both talented, so they have like the thing, right? And they're both prolific. So like when I have a project with Brian to turn pages around and stuff, like I don't have to wait on him. He's ready to just leap into a project as soon as we have an idea, just start producing it. We'll worry about publishing later. Like that's the thing that we're talking about right now is we've got 3 issues of it done. We have a publisher, but we're also like, we might want the story to be longer than what it is and stuff. And we're just going to figure that out as we go. Cause it's the work comes first. Tinian is the same way. I've pitched ideas at him, like stuff that like, I kind of like, I wanted to do, but I didn't quite have all the knowledge, but I could tell that like, he can just sit down and just start pounding stuff out. And he's got a good support system with him too. Tinian's done some really smart things with, Greg Lockhart is one of our main editors, and Greg just keeps us focused. As you know, sometimes it's hard to just keep up with your emails. And I've gotten to the point where I've accepted in life, I can't answer every email. I can't answer every single thing. And that's where somebody like Tinian will come in, because sometimes we have a project plan or I'm doing a cover and it just slips off the radar, and like Greg is right on top of it. So Tinian's prolific like Brian is, and he's also surrounded himself by a lot of people who help get the projects done. And like I'm one of the reasons I work so much is that all of my sort of neuroticism and my sense of self-worth comes from my work. So I'm like a shark that needs to swim. And like, if something slows down, I'm immediately itchy. I can take a day off without it being a problem. But if I'm go 2 or 3 days without seriously working on a project that has like a specific intention to it, I get depressed. I get full of anxiety and stuff. So like, I need my Brians and my Tinians to work with on top of my own stuff to keep myself sane. So in that way, I love working with both of them. Smart guys who surround themselves with smart support, who are prolific, and so they're very similar in that. Their execution, like their story styles, are very different. Obviously James is more into horror and sort of existential insanity, where Brian is a little more. There's a lot of crime. It's like sort of his base, and like, why do people think that way? Why do people react to these situations?
Sure.
And that's sort of the main difference, really. I think James is a little more shy. He has to force himself out there, like me. To put the face out there and do the thing. Brian's a little more comfortable with it, I think, just from his experience working at Marvel and just having to be a voice of not just himself, but of a company and stuff.
He definitely seems very comfortable in almost any setting, I think.
Yeah. I always feel like I have like a sand timer, or those things going, where it's just I'm running out of things to say, in my life and in any conversation about any, like whether it's energy or mental energy, but Brian can just talk all day about stuff and always have something interesting to say, and I'm always in awe of that power.
As am I. So that's cool. I mean, do they have the similar approaches? Do they write full script? Do they kind of give you kind of a plot?
What's interesting with James, I've only worked with him on Blue Book, and we're writing Blue Book, I won't call it Marvel style, but it's a loose script. So he gives me a page that basically either the whole page is a description of what is happening, or it's a page that has panels but no descriptions, or panels with no dialogue and stuff. So we're really working together closely on it. Brian always gives me a full script, and then he seems to dismantle it afterwards. So like he'll take out dialogue because like either I hit like an emotion right or something like that. So like, you know, both are really interesting. And then I don't get on the phone with either of them to talk this story out. Like I think once you have a certain sort of skill set, and you just know that you're in the same rhythm with somebody else, like James and I can just kind of like, it's like we've been working together for as long as Brian and I have been working together. But it's different, and it's really interesting like that. Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, and the thing is, you being a writer as well. I mean, you kind of know what they're going through, and you know, I don't know. It just seems you kind of come into a project knowing that you could tackle anything, and you know what the work that goes into each part. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it seems to me like you would be somebody that a lot of writers would enjoy working with, just because you have that kind of background, and then even from the artistic side. You know, you're very versatile, and like you've talked about analog and digital, and more of the the digital based work, and you incorporate a little bit of that, in everything to get the job done. I mean, we've talked about in some of the pieces that we've looked at in the past, where you'll do some of the inking digitally just to get it done quick, and then go back in later and ink the blacks in, right? To
or just completely re-ink something. From analog to digital, like if I just didn't feel like I hit it right or something, but I think working with Brian and James, one of the key things is that all three of us are about what's best for the story, what is best for the characters. Our egos are completely outside of the picture. James has never asked me to change anything, and he gives me sometimes really loose scripts where I'm not changing the story, but I'm adding character beats and stuff like that. And he's never been like, Mike, I don't know what you're doing here, and I shouldn't do that. Like, and same thing with Brian. If I change something or don't change something, Brian rolls with it. Like, this is an opportunity to yes and something. That's one of Brian's favorite thing to do is sort of like improv, right? Like the artist gives you something you didn't fully expect. That's not bad. The writer gave me something I didn't fully expect. That's not bad. I'm looking for what is best for the story, what's the best way to communicate these ideas. I think that's why the three of us work together so seamlessly, and we'll probably continue to work like this in the future.
That's that's a great pair of authors to get to continue to work with.
Not bad.
So, I mean, do you miss? You haven't done Powers work in a while. I mean, do you miss getting to spend time in that world?
100%, 100%. And like every other day, I'm thinking of ways of like, well, how can we do Powers again? And like, what would be appropriate? What would make sense and stuff?
You should tell them about the calendar mark that you have. The last day you worked on Powers, and like it repeats every year, so you see it.
Yeah. On the Google Calendar, I wrote down to repeat every year. The last day I drew Powers. So hopefully,
it was that meaningful.
Yeah. This is it's every landmark of my life up till I was like 48 or something like that is in that series. I love the characters. I love the world. Career-wise, it was a thing that, that was the dream of like, it was a dream before I knew it was a dream of creating a long ongoing series in a world that I created with basically one other person. I mean, we had colorists, who contributed to that and stuff. Basically. Yeah. Brian's my best friend, my brother, and the whole thing can never be repeated again. No other success will ever be the same, no matter how bigger it is. It's this was this unique historic landmark in my life. A little bit in comics, even, in the history of comics, like we made a little mark there and stuff. And I would like to do more again. We just got to figure out a way that, wouldn't diminish the history, which is hard to do when you put the period at the end of a sentence,
Right.
But
of course.
If people there, which there is, I just even just doing, just drawing them for free or whatever commissions are great, and we're always looking for ways outside of comics even to keep it going. and I don't just mean, film or television, but there's other ways to, like, creating some mugs or whatever it is, just keep them alive.
William has a question. Do you take the crossover interview pages with Dina and Walker as an epilogue, a final tribute?
Oh yeah, that was fun. Okay, so there was that crossover book at Image where all the different, like, characters were crossing over. So that was technically last time I got to draw them, and that was a lot of fun. Was to do this short story with Walker and Dina, sort of post the or pre the ending of it and stuff. So any opportunities to do more stuff like that, we'll definitely lead that. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I think most people associate, when they think about you, they think about Powers. So I don't know. That's why I've always, and we have a lot of Powers work. I mean, it's one thing that you have a lot of, right? I mean,
yep. So, like I said, I'm always itching to do more. I love those characters. I love them, and it was appropriate at the time to bring an end to the overall arc and the overall, like, concept and journey of the characters and stuff, but like a lot of books that come to an end, there's still a life to it, so yeah, just kind of have to figure that stuff out. No announcements here or anything like that, but there's always the will for it,
Sure. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to the next couple months of books coming out from you. This is going to be exciting, man.
Yeah, I'm asking a lot from people, so I appreciate it.
Well, I'm going to get on your mailing list so that I can make sure I can share any updates to the CAF community. I apologize for not being on it already. I should have done.
Fine. There's a lot of noise out there. It's like you said, it's hard to get messages out, and
Exactly. So so I know we've got 21 pieces of art to look at today. Do you want to? We can dive into those, and there's going to be.
We can dive into it, and if anybody has questions in between. Shoot them out. You and Taki are over here manning the stations.
Taki's doing a very good job in the chat. She's taking care of things. I almost don't have to watch it right now. So most people are familiar with the sales formats and everything here, but I can show a couple slides just to give everybody the scoop if you're new to sales shows here. So we have we've got 21 pieces of art to look at today. Claims happen in the chat. Every slide that I show will have a lot number on it. So you're just going to type claim and the lot number in the chat. First person that does that for each lot number will be the person who claimed it. You can claim a piece of art at any time. I know a lot of people tend to like to see all 21 pieces before they make a claim just so they can see what's available. Or, we can be a lot 20, you can claim lot 5, end of the day, claim them whenever you want after we've shown them. We do expect payment within 48 hours. I definitely prefer to get payments via Zelle or Venmo. I'll even take a personal check if you drop it in the mail on Monday, just to keep things like service fee free, because if we end up having to go the PayPal route, we do charge 4% for US transactions and 5.5% for international. But we try to work with you in a way to avoid that. So just keep that in mind. I do have all the art in my hands here. So I'll be shipping everything. So shipping costs are additional. Domestic shipping is $30, international $65. That's you can combine on shipping, obviously. And I ship everything in Masonite, so it's shipped really safely. And I take great care in making sure that the artwork arrives in the same, pristine, characteristics as it came to my possession. So there you have that. And yeah, it was cool. I like looking at your work, man, because it's just I don't know. I've always enjoyed your style. It's just there's a shorthand in the way you work, and I love that you like to really live in the blacks. There's a lot of dark in your work, but it doesn't feel heavy, in that way. And so whenever I get to see your pieces, that's what's cool. That's the best part of my job, is I get to handle all this artwork and get to see it up close. I've always been envious of people who repped artists because they always get to look at a stack of artwork. So for me, it's like getting to enjoy and appreciate somebody's artwork in a way that I never would get to do that otherwise. So it's always fun. It's like Christmas when I get a package from you.
That is awesome. I remember I knew Scott Dunbier way back in the day when he was an art dealer in the early 90s. And one day he took me over to his place in New York, and he was a bachelor, right? So his whole place was just filled with art. and like everything. There was like Frazetta pieces and Bernie Wrightson and Mike Mignola and like John Byrne and like just everything. And to be able to like kind of go through that and like, you know, this feeling, it's there's one thing, it's like, oh, you're kind of making this connection with this artist, but then there's like a history behind some of it, you know, and that is such a great feeling. Yeah, so it's really cool that you get to live that all the time with a wide variety of artists and creators.
Exactly. No, that's cool. And it's and you know, it's very diverse, right? I helped like Hitch sell some stuff recently, and so yeah, it's just cool getting to handle it, see it, move it along. But there was a question from JT. Was what's the best way to contact you about other art not shown today that they may be interested in?
You can email Taki through our website, so michaelavanoeming.com, and there's a contact there. And that's a
because you do sell art through the site.
Taki also put it in the chat.
It's fine.
Your email?
Yeah.
It's at Taki Soma, TAKI Soma @gmail.com. And we do have tons of art here. We have a large library of our back stock of books, which we're just now organizing or starting to organize. So eventually we'll have like a website. You can get books signed and a sketch and more art and stuff. But, you know, it's a big project. So
yeah.
They always are, unfortunately. I got an email from Scott Doonbeer the other day saying, do you know any, custom website developers? So, you know, whatever his new stuff he has going on in his life, he needs a custom website developer to help him. And yeah, that's always the biggest hurdle, I think, is getting something that works for everybody out there. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive into this. And because this first piece, I had no idea what it was from, but initially I thought, oh, maybe it's a cover or something. But so this is lot number 1, and from your description, you said it's a retro girl, obviously, but you said it was from the Powers TV show, projection art. So it's priced at $400. So how was this used?
It was used twice. I believe in the show it was used, but it was hard to see. It was on a napkin. Like there was some sort of retro girl themed party or something. So they were using the napkins. And then there was an after show party just for the cast and crew. And they had a bunch of Powers paraphernalia. And part of that was these napkins that had retro girl posted on there, so it was used there, but you had to be there to see that one, I guess.
In the show. In real life.
Yeah, we used to have some napkins too, but I think at this point we've used them all up.
Didn't save one.
We might, but we've moved a couple of times since.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, all the napkins I had printed for my wedding, I don't think I have any of those left.
Yeah, I'm not sure they hold up. I think they just sort of disintegrate over time.
Yes, definitely.
But we did a lot of production art for the Power show, so this is one of the pieces. But I still got a lot more as well.
So when you say production art, I mean, were they using your work as like references for the other animators? I mean, how are they utilizing it?
It was a combination of some of it was just to help the directors, producers, and even the studio just sort of envision a scene. So I've done storyboards for scenes just to sell that we should do this scene. Some of it was actual character design. There's a character in the second season. I designed his whole, not his whole outfit, but his logo. I forget the name of him offhand. I've got those around someplace as well. So sometimes it was for on-screen stuff. In the first season, there was one of the main characters was a comic book artist who Walker had played a part in his life, and he's drawing a page where he's fantasizing about Walker taking revenge for him on his father's killer. So I drew that page, which appears in the show.
Didn't you do a piece for the special effects guy?
Yeah, there was some special. Oh, yeah. When they had to figure out some really gory stuff, because that's something I was kind of known for in Powers was like people being. I think it was a replay of Role Play, which is our second trade paperback or second story arc about LARPers, and these LARPers were being killed, and that storyline showed up in the show, and they needed to impale some people, and they just needed like a sort of a visual take on that, and all that stuff. I need to credit Brian for, because at first they were like, "Oh, Mike's the artist. There's places for him." They did welcome me in early on, but he really showed my value. By the second season, I was doing a ton of character designs and storyboards. I did storyboard ideas for the opening, which weren't used, but the style was kind of used in it. And then I did storyboards for some of the scenes where like Super Shock was wiping out some sort of town in South America, and it was a big battle and stuff. So yeah, there was quite a bit of work that I did. And these were one of the pieces that I was able to find pretty easily. Sometimes that's the accessibility, is what do I find? Because I have a giant closet full of stuff. And
we have seen the giant closet. Remember, I think when one of our first interviews, we could see the closet behind you. So yeah, we know there's a lot of artwork from different periods of your career still out there. So JT, I mean, if JT is looking for something, you may end up actually having it. Let's see here. So lot number one still available. Lot number 2 is up next. We've got the cover to Powers Volume 4, Issue 6, and fire escapes play a part in a lot of your your cityscapes. I've noted over the last 4 or 5 shows we've done together. This one's fantastic. I love the way you've woven it together with the lights and the darks there. It seems like you really had a lot of fun with this one.
This was really fun. Like a lot of times when I do Powers covers, they're more compositional based, like a big walker head and Dina's inside of that image. What I loved about this, or was really excited about, is it tells a story. You can see the scraping on the window ledge of somebody like kind of holding on in some blood, and their body is way down at the bottom, and the eye is drawn that way from all the lines of the fire escape. And then there's Dina with her flashlight looking up there, and I was really happy with a storytelling piece. So this was one of my favorite pieces.
Composition is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's this was impressive. And when I put the emails together, I led with this image because I just loved it. The perspective on it, the fact that you've managed to get this fire escape so perfectly done, and again lit in such a way that it's very dramatic, and E. Mason did claim it. And then so everybody knows, I saw Mike Plavin mention claim before he even saw it on the screen. One thing I always forget to tell everybody before we get started with the sale portion of it is that in the lower left-hand corner of your screen, there's the word live. Click that, and that will get you as close to real time as everyone else that's watching it. When you join YouTube, it could buffer you and put you a second or two behind other people in the chat, and that puts you at a disadvantage. So I apologize. I got to make that a part of my intro script before we get into these things, just because it does play a part. I mean, in a claim show like this, seconds count. So yes. Everybody who's watching, click that live button, and I guarantee you'll be as close to current as everyone else. But again, back to this piece. Amazing, Mike. It's beautiful.
I said in the lower left side, it should say live.
Okay.
Let's see.
And colorist.
Nick Filardi, who was our longest running Powers colorist. And I worked with Nick on tons of other stuff too. We did Takio together with Brian, also my Victory series, which everyone drew for two years over at Dark Horse. And I miss working with Nick. It's been a minute, so we got to figure something out.
Yeah. Well, I have to ask, how do you get Bendis to sign everything?
We live in the same town.
It's like you're like, I got something. You got to come in. We're gonna hang out. And you get to sign it. Okay.
Yeah. I'll just ask him. If you've ever brought books for Brian to sign at a con, he'll sign anything. Quite literally, I think he signed a puppy once.
He did.
So. Yeah.
He did.
Well, I think it's great because a lot of times, it's difficult to get the writer to sign it, but you've got them all. You've got it all taken
and
care
again,
of.
Brian has no ego about this stuff. He wants me to take this and to do well with it. He's not like, I need $1 for everything that you sell or something stupid like that. There's no ego involved in what we do, and we just.
Plus, we see each other quite often.
Yeah.
Well. Cool. Well, let's take a look at lot number 3. This is I don't think we've ever offered a prelim before, but here we do have one. It's the Powers Annual #1 cover prelim.
this was so fun because like just doing you know, the Frazetta homage caveman stuff and getting to revisit the Powers Forever storyline was a lot of fun. And I believe, yeah, the center image of this is an actual Frazetta homage. It's from one of his favorites. Yeah. Which is always fun, drawing Frazetta in my cartoony style and trying to figure out how to take his shapes and composition and then, you know, translate it. Yeah, so this was just a ton of fun. It's just pen and ink. I think it's literally like a ballpoint pen. There's pencil, and it's like on I think just a small piece of either regular photocopy paper or just a small page, you know. And yeah, just one of my favorite pieces. I really, really like it. Plus, you know, I didn't have to draw cars.
What's that?
I didn't have to draw cars.
No, not for this one. But yeah, it's not quite. I put 8.5 by 11 on there, but it was more like 8.4 by 10.8. It was an odd size, but yeah. But yeah, no, very, very nice.
And sometimes I like to do a lot of my preliminary stuff on weird pieces of paper because, in a weird psychological way, it takes the pressure off of, you know, that this needs to be perfect or something, you know, and I could just kind of find the shapes and allow it to be what it is without overthinking. Sometimes if you're doing it on real Bristol board, it's like a commitment.
Well, very nice. So this one is still available. Lot 3, $350 for the Powers Annual 1 cover prelim. And next up is now this was an unused Murder Inc. cover. I don't know why it was unused because it's freaking beautiful. Priced at $700, but yeah, tell me about this one, man. I mean, I think this is beautiful. I mean, I love the guns as light sources. I mean, this is fun.
Thanks. Yeah, a lot of times with Powers and Murder Inc., I'll do fully realized pieces, instead of just doing concept pieces. Like there's you know, I'm so excited about the project that I'll just go ahead and just execute it, even if it's not going to be the finished piece. I could have easily just kept this as a quick sketch, but that's our cat. But yeah, I just went ahead and just, I love the characters. I love the idea of using the guns as sort of this framing device. For a while, I was trying to play around with the idea of the gun handles being wings on something, but then it looked a little too, I don't know, like a bad tattoo. You know,
yeah,
a woman with gun wings. Oh, so cool. But yeah, I definitely found that, and there's the balance of the two characters. You know, they're both like these sort of like badass looking weapons. And this is definitely for the first cover because the first issue has Valentine carrying this briefcase that plays a big part in the story. Yeah, so there you go. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of black, a lot of good fun with the composition in here.
And a lot of the times, like when you do pieces like this and it doesn't get used for its intended purposes, we usually find a way to use it elsewhere.
Yeah, more than likely. I can't promise this because I don't have it in front of me. My recall is terrible. That's probably in one of the trades and some of the extras. But I could be wrong. I don't know. And for those who don't know, Murder Inc. is currently in development at Amazon, which has been exciting. I can't tell you much more than that other than there's been forward movement. You know, sometimes you get the deal and then that's where you stay.
There, yeah.
But there's you know, some stuff actually happening. So fingers crossed.
Well, that's really cool, man. Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah. And luckily I've been through enough of the Hollywood stuff that I've gotten to a place where I'm just comfortable celebrating each step as it happens and not worrying about will this happen, won't it happen, or thinking about the future. Just because there's been so many things that have, you know, come and gone. So it's good to be in a place where you can just enjoy each little victory as it happens. You know, oh, look at that, we got another note from the studio, or oh, something's happening with this or that, you know.
Right.
Because sometimes, like I said, you just get the deal and then that's it.
Well, fingers crossed. Amazon's done some good work of late. So
yeah, and I think that one of the things about like Murder Inc. is it has a lot in common with Powers, not as far as the execution of it goes, but like Powers really worked because of the time period that it came out. Like people were ready for these sorts of commentaries on superheroes, and there had been those kind of commentaries made before Powers came, but I think we were making it in a major way as an ongoing series at a time where people were really ready for that, and that was a big part of why that did well. There's a lot going on in Murder Inc. in the themes of the story and the world that we created. I think that people are relating to right now. So I think it's a really good time for the show to happen because it is very timely. There's a sense that the world is run by, some form of organized crime, whether it's political organized or it's economic organized crime. People feel a lack of equality out there, because, well, like we were talking about, like the algorithms earlier, like they're all built not for the purposes that they're built for, which is that you're communicating with the people you want to communicate with. They're now built to make that platform money, with the cost of inflation and jobs not going around, people being felt that they're being treated very unfairly, and all of these themes are something that's we address in Murder Inc. And not always in ways that I like, because like some of the metaphors aren't for like my philosophy, but they're there, right? So like, right. And they're pretty universal. So, and that's what I like about art is when something like I don't think Brian nor Taki and I like heavy messaging stuff in our work, but we like that people can interpret it in their own way. And there's just a lot going on with Murder Inc. and society right now. So I think it's a good timing for it.
Well, I've read it. I enjoy it. I think it's Amazon should do something with it. I hope. So Zach wanted to say hey. So I guess Zach is.
Hey, Zach.
All right, so that one is still available. We can take a look at lot number 5 next. This is when I actually did an unboxing in front of the chat during one of my CAF updates, and somebody said this was the Keep on Trucking cover.
Oh my God! If you're from the 70s,
yes, exactly.
Yeah. This is probably my favorite Murder Inc. cover. Period. And it was one that usually the best covers come along organically, and I'm not planning it too hard. This one, I did a lot of reference and research for, like that angle of her walking or stepping like that was difficult. So I mixed and matched different references and stuff to try and figure out the shot. So there's a lot of work that went into this that typically, I'm just working on sort of my subconscious and letting things flow. This was more intentional, and I'm really, really, really happy with everything from the composition to just the drawings themselves. And it's just one of my favorite covers. It just says a lot about the series. It's full of style. It's a really good, it just feels like what the book is about.
Well, I love it too. And again, a fire escape too. Remember?
Yeah.
What was that, Taki? I didn't like.
That Jagger is like bigger than life in this, and it's very appropriate because she really is.
Yeah.
No, I agree, and I love the way you treated the city behind the both of them, and I mean, as far as composition, you do so much, with the sparse line and everything. You just do your compositions incredibly well. Just like looking at the unused cover to Murder Inc. There's just a wonderful sense of composition that you put into the pieces, and I think this is fantastic.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. What's funny too, there was a lot of conversations that Taki and I have. We're a really strong believer in, like, rules can be broken, right? But there are certain rules for composition that I think always work. And one of them is that action should always be moving from like left to right. And I kind of hate when the eye is forced to go the other way. It's not really natural. This was really interesting because the characters are facing towards the left, but then there's wind coming all the way through everything from the left to the right. So I remember us having conversations about which way they should be facing, and is the action happening in the environment, or is the action happening in the characters? And I kind of felt like because her legs create this A triangle formation right over Valentine that overpowered the need to have them looking in the direction of the eye line, whereas all the environment, the perspective from the city that comes down and then to the right, or comes down and then kind of up to the upper right, and then there's the wind blowing through her hair and her jacket and the smoke all moving from left to right. Yeah, it made this one really interesting. I said there was a lot of thought put into this one, more so than others that kind of come together naturally. And yeah, that composition thing, action moving left to right is a big thing. Like a lot of times we'll see a beautiful piece and I'll go, yeah, but it's facing the wrong way. They should flip it. And we do that with advertising and book covers and everything in our life. Everything is subject to some sort of storytelling to us.
Well, that's good, and it's great having Taki as a partner in all of that. I mean, you know, you've got a good in-house editor who can give you their own opinion. I mean, that's wonderful.
For sure. And for either of us to be married to somebody else, it'd be so sick of hearing, can you pick up that jar of peanut butter without talking about, the font it's in conflict with the composition and the storytelling. Like earlier we were looking up, I still don't know if this was a publisher, if this was a fulfillment center for Kickstarter. I won't say what the names are or anything, but like I couldn't figure out what this thing was. Their messaging was just so vague.
But also we do talk about what works too.
Of course.
Okay.
No, we always talk about what works.
Okay.
Whether something isn't working or is working, our favorite thing is to do a sort of biopsy on it and figure out why did it work? Why did it work? Why didn't it work? How could it have worked? So like nobody else would put up with that unless this is your whole life.
Well, I mean, I've got a friend who keeps reminding me about branding and how important that is. And yes, I'm becoming a firm believer in that, as it relates to, any of the things that we've been doing in business lately or whatnot, that, can't, making the right impression immediately, helps convey what you're about and how sophisticated you are. And you can fall flat doing, subpar or mediocre work. So, and
you can put a lot of work into it and overthink it, and that's a problem too. So it's not always bad because somebody dropped the ball. Sometimes it's bad because this stuff's hard. It's really hard to boil something down to what's the word when you're cooking? You confit. You boil it down to its essence. There's a word for you boil the water down to it, so it's nothing but like its pure essence, right? And that's what you have to do with your messaging. You have to like really boil it down. Taki and I love the art of the comic book pitching stories. Like it is so specific because you're pitching to the publisher and you're pitching to the editor. It's different than actually telling what the story's about. You're telling why they should be reading this, why they should be buying this, but you also don't want to sound like a salesman. So it is a sale. Yeah.
It's marrying the art and knowing that it's still a business. That's a really, really hard thing to remember.
Yeah. And it's fun. It's its own, like I said, it's its own art form.
Mike Plotkin said reduce?
Reduce, yeah. There was an actual cooking term that we had heard, and I can't remember it now.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry. This is what happens. We just started talking about this stuff,
Well, let's see here. We're going over to lot number 6 now. And this is, I forget which volume is this from, but I know this is the cover to issue 6.
This is relatively early on. Yeah, this is our second incarnation of the book. It's our second incarnation of the book at Marvel under the Icon thing. And this was fun because characters don't appear on it, but like the badge and the city is a character. So
it's volume 1.
Volume 1, yeah.
It's volume 2. Volume 1 would be the image run. Icon was when we're at Marvel, so that's the second volume.
Also, it's volume 2. Okay. Either way,
we had a lot of volumes, so and that's one of the problems with the pages. Like, I'm too focused on just making the pages and not really. It's only in the past 10 years that I've tried to organize them in any way. So sometimes finding out what page is from where is a puzzle, and that's a lot of times that's when the fans are the best because The fans often know more about the specifics of the series than I do, which I'm really grateful for.
Yeah. No. Hey, my only my only suggestion is to write those issue and page numbers on your artwork. But I know how it goes, man. I get a lot of art where that's not written on it, at all. And, so it's tough. But anyways, congrats to E. Mason on getting another cover. This is a good one, and probably the most affordable cover we will have on the show the entire year. $400.
Nice. Thank you, Mason.
Yeah, this next one, I really thought this image is fantastic. This is from Powers Bureau, number 2. The cover to that, it's priced at $1,000. Lot number 7. The published cover is cool and everything, but man, it's so striking. Seeing it in black and white in your original intent. I love it. I mean, how do you feel like when things get taken, out of your piece for the sake of having a cover kind of fit what you need, so you can put the logo on it and everything.
Well, we could have kept Walker in there, and I think we just decided to take it out for a couple of different reasons. But part of it is the logo, but we could have had his head popping over the logo. The Walker's face was less important to me than the mask with the blood, because of what happens in the story. There's an undercover story going on here where Walker's undercover and gets caught. And I just like this idea of like the blood forming the shape of the face. And what's interesting with coloring is there's this trade-off. So when you look at the black and white piece, you can see that face clear outline a little more clearly, right? But then the color, the opposite colors of the blue and the red make that pop. So it makes the mask pop more. So like the question here, the colorist that Nick had asked himself was like, is the story about the outline of the face, or is it about the mask? And it's about the mask. So for as much as I love seeing the face outlined in the black and white piece, the story is about the mask. And Nick made sure that was the focus of this. So one of the reasons, right, he's a great colorist, and that's one of the really interesting things about the differences between black and white and color.
Plus, I think without Walker's face looming over the mask, the finished page looks striking. Like it's, like your eye just goes there because it's simple but not simple.
Yeah.
You're drawn to the design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think it's I don't know. I get what you mean now. But I loved, being able to pull, the face out of the blood drip, drips going down there around the nose, at the lips and everything. So, but it makes perfect sense. So let's see here. So this one's still available, lot 7, priced at $1,000. And let's take a look at lot number 8 next.
And it's worth pointing out to all the Powers pieces are signed by Brian.
Yes. And I'm sorry, I should have been mentioning that too. This is the one you said was a possibly unused Powers cover, because I couldn't find it, and you weren't sure.
Yeah, I couldn't find it anywhere either. So if anybody out there recognizes it, say so. But I do believe that this was one of those pieces I just did, and then we decided not to use. I really like it a lot. I'm not sure which issues it was up against at the time that I did it, but and I think this also justifies me doing finished pieces when I don't know if they're going to be used or not, because I am doing it. The intention is that I love these characters. I love the book. I love the way this whole thing looks. And to me, really, that's the most important part. Like it is like I need to make a living, but so much of this is driven out of my own sort of psychological need to produce these things, So I'm really glad I did this as a finished piece, even though it wasn't used as a cover.
Yeah, no, I think
Perlman, if he would know.
Yeah, Perlman is one of those guys that, like, if there's something I don't know about the series, Michael Perlman will know.
Let's see. Kirk says it's shown as a cover sketch in the Bureau Saga V7 definitive hardcover.
Okay, so then probably wasn't used. This was just one of the concept pieces. But it's not really a sketch. It's a finished 11 by 17.
Well, there was a Powers cover very similar to this one. I think the characters were a little bit more. They were lit differently, and they were in front of the badge. Could have been around the same time. I don't know, but
probably yeah. A lot of times I'll have this variation idea, like an idea of like the badge is a frame, them inside of the badge, then outside of the badge, the badge being on the floor where they're standing on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Badge.
Very nice. Well, thank you, Kirk, for that purchase. We appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
This next one might be I don't know. There's a lot of great pieces in here. This is lot number 9. This is from Powers Bureau issue 9. Cover for that one. This is priced at $1,100, and it's always funny when you see things reversed, right? Like that. I mean, I was looking for the cover image, and I was staring right at it, and it wasn't like jumping out at me on the Google search when I was trying to see it. And then I'm like, oh shoot,
Yeah.
How often do you end up flipping things around like that? I mean, I think because I feel like this isn't the first time we've seen a cover where you ended up reversing it. And is it back to that left to right kind of idea?
So I'll be honest. I prefer it the way that I had it than the way that we finished it. Oh. Again, though, this isn't about ego, right? So I don't need to argue with Brian or whomever decided to flip it back and forth. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh no, this is fine. It still works, but I like the image of the light is coming from the left to the right as the eye follows the line, right? That's why I decided to go that way. But it's not breaking it by flipping it, and in a way, on the flip version, the first thing you're looking at is Dina's shadow, right? So like compositionally, it's still going eyes left to right. The black and white version is the movement going left from right. So sometimes those are things you fight with. Is it the character that you want to see first? Is it the movement that matters more? And it just sort of depends on the piece. This is honestly one of my favorite covers that I've ever done for Powers. I feel like it has all of often I struggle with my own work trying to figure it out. But sometimes I'll see a piece like this and like, oh, this is everything that I want to do condensed into one piece. It's high composition, high contrast. Like you could take out all the line work and you could probably still make out Dina, with her shadow and all that. And it has a cartoonishness to it that I always struggle with because like sometimes I make it not cartoony as it should be, and sometimes I feel like it's too cartoony and it's just kind of hard to find that balance. This is a piece that I just feel like it's just it brings everything together, and it's just one of my favorite pieces. So I'm glad I found it home.
Agreed. Yeah, and it's fun. Yeah, I mean, looking at it now, there were things I missed seeing it from the published version to your piece. I mean, like her leg going into the darkness. I mean, you've got it outlined, and that looks like it's lost on the published cover. Yeah, and we come across this so often when we're looking at original art, right? And we think that it's so hard to get to translate your intent to what ends up getting published. But yeah, E. Mason's got a good one here. I mean, this should go up on the wall, that's for sure.
Yeah, thank you, Mason. Yeah, This is, I guess, honestly, it's my favorite pieces.
And I also love that the shadow of Dina's is like a little bit distorted, but it like wouldn't make sense if it was like on a flat surface. Mm-hmm. So I love that because
it adds dimension.
It adds like a lot of dimension. Yeah.
But somebody has a Walker-shaped flashlight, and that makes no sense.
That's why this is why we love the medium. You can distort all forms of reality to achieve your artistic vision on stuff like this. I mean, that's and again, it's back to this is part of what we see a lot in your art is playing with light, right? I mean, and light sources that shouldn't be light sources, the guns being light sources on the murdering, right? I mean, those sorts of things are fun, and it's just kind of.
I even love like dropping the leg out, and I bet this was a Brian choice, and I've never even noticed it until now that with her whole leg dropped out, on the color cover it's her right leg, and black and white is the left leg. It really makes her stepping out of the shadows, like she's stepping out of the inky darkness in a way that she's not on my piece, which is also really interesting.
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way, but
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's funny.
What I love about art. You know, it's like, it's just, you know, I don't believe that there are wrong choices necessarily as much as there are choices.
Yep.
Make a choice in whatever you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, in comics, it's typically not a one-person gig, right? And certainly with Powers, it wasn't. I mean, Brian's got his probably things that he desires to see. The colorist has theirs, and you have yours. And yeah, but it was so funny. I mean, I scanned over that list of images like 3 or 4 times before I saw it. It just didn't register for me. There was the colors versus the black and white, and it just was an odd feeling to be like, I'm staring at it for like 5 minutes and couldn't see it. So let's see here. Next up is actually, I probably would have actually had this one earlier because this is related to the TV show as well. This is lot number 10. A very unique piece. Obviously, this was a piece of production art that you would have turned in for the TV show. I imagine it's an 11 by 17, priced at $650.
So honestly, I can't tell you how this was used or why I was asked to draw it. So what we have here is that's Walker from the comic, Dina from the comic, Retro Girl from the comic. Oh no, actually, these are all the comic characters. Actually, I think that's the Retro Girl from the television show that's in the middle, her costume. And then what's strange is that Alicia Rulin, who played Retro Girl, looked so much exactly like the character that I was drawing. It's kind of hard to tell when I was drawing her and when I was drawing the comic book version.
I was literally going to say the same thing. Like, I can't tell if she looks like the comic character or from the
actress.
TV.
Yeah.
I can't tell.
Yeah, I think this was drawn as a promotional piece for signing at the New York City Comic Con. Like, I felt like it was going to be on a banner or something.
Interesting. I wish I had a photograph of that banner. Then we could. Because I look at this and I'm thinking, there's no way that you're going to get this for $650, drawn by Mike at a con, right?
Sure.
For fully finished figures. Yeah, that's not your going rate. And, so when we were pricing it, I was like, okay, well, $650 it is, it's probably, that sounds right. But, this is.
And I felt to keep it lower just because I know it wasn't printed as a cover or as a page. It might be in one of the trades. But this is one of those sort of behind the scenes things. Like, if you don't have this, you're not going to see it. Like, and this is the only time you're really going to see it is just up here on your screen.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. Like, a lot of the production art is it's not meant for public. So if you have it, then it's
it's really one of a kind. Yeah.
Well, Michael says he's not seen this piece before, so
Okay.
We're gonna.
Yes, I think you have an exclusive.
All right. Well, very nice. So this one's still out there. Lot number 10, $650. And then this is the only kind of off the wall piece. And this is a Thor illustration on 11 by 17, priced at $400. And go ahead. I know you like things, Norse mythology and everything. I figured Thor was right up your alley. This turned out very well.
Oh, thanks. I'm not sure why I did this. I think I just did it for fun. It is possible I wanted to test out like a brush or something, and I'm not sure why I did it. I just did it. I like Thor. My run on Thor Ragnarok was a lot of fun. Thor Blood Oath, still one of my favorite things that I ever wrote. I'd rate Thor again if I had a chance. I just like the character. Obviously, he's meant a lot to me. We've been through a lot together. The end of the world.
Exactly. Well, this is obviously Thor is one of my favorite characters too. So if nobody ends up getting this one, I'm buying it. So I'm just letting everybody know. The gauntlet's thrown down. I always give everybody their chance first. So because it was funny when I did the unboxing, I was like, did Michael draw this for me? Because everybody knows that I collect a lot of Thor artwork. So, but yes, so that's I like that piece. You can draw Thor all the time. Oh man! But now here's the interesting part. We're going into some Powers interiors, which we've really not. We haven't had too many in the past. I mean, we usually maybe have like 2 or 3 interior pages in our sales, but we've got 10 pages to look at. And
I found like I said, we're still just organizing all of the work that we have and stuff. So yeah, we found like a sort of mother lode. So one of these pages is fairly old. Like it might go back to the first or second volume.
Well, very cool. And there's
Michael Perlman.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully Michael will be able to illuminate some of these pages, or which they're from, because we don't have issues and page numbers for any of these. But yeah, they're all great. And there's some interesting. You've got like 2 pages on one. There's a couple DPSs, so lots of interesting stuff to look at here. So let's take a look at the first one. This is lot number 12, and we have fire escape again. Just like we've seen in a few other pieces. I love the composition on this one. The small tenement on the left and just the storytelling coming down on the right there. Yeah, really well done.
I do really have fun just stacking panels like that. So this would have been a double page spread that I drew on a single page, I believe. Right? Is that? Oh, no, that's a regular size page. Okay, so I'm looking on the left side here, but on the right. Yeah, no, that's a regular size page. What's interesting when I look back at some of this older stuff, like I look at those clouds and they're very different than I would draw clouds now. And I'm also like going like, well, why don't I draw clouds like that anymore? Like there's a simplicity there that I don't do so much anymore, that I'm almost like, I wish I was brave enough to do that few lines again. It's really weird. Like I actually spend a lot of time digitally taking stuff out because working minimally is just it's a lot more difficult than it seems. And then once you have digital, whether working digital straight or I'm just touching things up digitally afterwards, it's just so easy to keep adding detail and stuff. So the limitations back then of not having digital stuff at my hands, sometimes it was advantageous and sometimes not advantageous.
And I love how Brian signed his autograph on the piece of paper that Walker's looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian usually finds an interesting place to sign his name on most of these pieces.
Yeah. And this is also some of my favorite kind of storytelling. That row of panels, it's almost like a storyboard, and you're just following him from moment to moment and zooming in. It's a very sort of thing we just stole from Martin Scorsese. The taxi driver storyboards were something we paid a lot of attention to when we first started Powers, and it's my favorite kind of storytelling.
Interesting. And looking at it, I mean, obviously these, the panels, the vertical set of panels, they're not all the same size. So you're kind of drawing these, freehand in the size that you want it, and they kind of look a bit like they're the same size, but they're not. So it's like consistency.
Yeah, I'm never. I don't believe in accuracy. Like I literally don't.
The wide panels actually have a lot of like time. Like it slows the time down because it's wide.
Sure.
And I love that.
I kind of feel like this is an earlier page too. This might come from the second volume because this is issue 4. What does that say in the top right corner? Can you read that?
41, maybe.
41? Yeah.
41 pages.
Let's see. I've got the art here. So
never mind. I don't know what it's from then.
Yeah, it says 441.
Yeah,
and no notes on the back.
Interesting. I don't know anymore. Oh, issue 41, maybe. Page 4 from issue 41. So maybe that's the first run then. I don't know.
All right, well, this one is still available. We'll take a look at lot 13 next. So, this was one where it's you basically got 2 pages on one page. So they're drawn, it's on 11 by 17. The one on the left says 330 and the one on the right says 331. And, you don't, I think when I pulled this one out, it reminded me of Darwin Cook doing like Parker, where you drew 2 pages on one page. I don't know if you're familiar with how those, so it just reminded me of that, because you don't see stuff like this too often. And
I did a lot of that. I did a lot of like, I don't know if it was a mental trick, where I kind of felt like if I drew 2 pages on one page, it's sort of the same amount of work as 1 page, but I'm getting 2 done. I'm not sure, but and also because these were mostly headshots and conversations, it probably did make sense to do them on a single page, like time-wise. Or maybe I'm fooling myself. I don't know. Maybe it's just a mental block. But I did that a lot, and it was a lot of fun. I've drawn whole issues kind of like that. I know at Hammer of the Gods there was quite a bit that I did that were double page spreads like that. Also, I think this was early me and Taki dating, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. That's kind of Taki's hairstyle back then, and we were doing a lot of drinking back then too.
All true.
Not anymore. Now we're boring.
Yeah, but no, it's cool. It's definitely cool. So it wasn't something you did a lot of, but you did a little bit of.
Yeah, I was always experimenting on powers. Whether it was for time or technique.
Well, powers is where you honed in your style.
Yeah.
Really, right? The style that you're known for.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this one's still available, lot 13 at $600. And so see, I got the art in front of me now, so if I can see any notes, I'm gonna let us.
Okay.
So what do we got with the next one? Lot 14, another interior page, price of $450.
Yeah. This is from one of the later storylines. I think this is when Enki came into the scene after Dina got kicked off the force for, murdering or something. And they're talking about trying to figure out who that character is. But I remember there was a story in there about a character who was tied into nuclear blasts and stuff, and there was this, World War III was always a threat with superheroes and stuff in our world. So
is this from Bureau?
This is from Bureau. That's right. Yeah, because by the time Walker got to Bureau, it was don't remember.
But that's when Enki was
first there, and then I think Dina came in later.
Right, but
yeah, we brought her back during Bureau, but not at first. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's Walker and Enki doing some investigations here, looking at some blood on the ground.
Yep, very nicely done. There are no notes on this one either. Just checking the back. I remember one of the pages at least had some notations on the back, but not that one. So this one's lot 14 at $450. Then we have lot 15 next. So this is a DPS. It's got a new woman on the television set right there. This one does say 14 2-3.
That's a very good woman. Sorry.
Yes.
This definitely goes back to the first run. This was one of the first times that we did Walker and Dina opening up a closet to find, the superhero hideout. We only did that once or twice. This is definitely an older page, and you can also tell from Walker's size. Like early on, I had trouble regulating Walker's size, and he kind of went from being really big to just a big dude, but he was always supposed to be sort of oversized. And I can even recognize some of the brushes I was using. I was using like a marker brush at the time. One of the first marker brushes that came out. They weren't refillable or anything, but they were great when they first were in use. Yeah, and kind of looking at the weird details here of there's some weird details in there.
Definitely.
A lot of phallic symbols?
It's a I remember now. This is a superhero like whack room. Like there's paper there, and there's stuff, and there's things going on. So it was like a sex dungeon and some superheroes, or supervillain. I don't remember
whose bedroom did you reference.
No, I would assume Brian.
Joking.
This was all Brian's doing, not yours, Michael. I'm sure.
This might be Super Shock. Like I'm looking at those gauntlets, and that might be Super Shock.
Well, we thank Eldon for picking this one up. It's nice.
Eldon, you're brave. Thank you, Eldon.
All right, so let's take a look at lot 16 next. Another DPS. This is
So this is pretty classic.
And this is one with a note on the back. It actually says Vol 2, number 28, and it's pages 6 and 7.
Yeah, this is near the end of Dina's. 20-year-old. Spoilers. She gets the power virus. We see her on here, kind of flashing and stuff, right? So she gets the power virus. This is what gets her kicked off of the force because of some of the stuff that happened in this storyline. And here she is fighting our famous Simons. The Simons were our very, very first supervillains, even before issue 1 of Powers, which had a guy with like a kind of a rocket pack in the opening where Callista comes from. We did a free story in Comic Shop News, I believe it was. And it was Walker and Dina investigating the dead Simons. So he was the very first of our characters who we had as villains. Also was played brilliantly in the television show. It was one of our favorite things, was how the Simons characters were. And here it was Dina having a big fist fight, power fight with the Simons. There's like one guy who duplicates himself,
Right. I think we actually have another page with the Simons on it too coming up.
Right.
But Andrew Hanna claimed this one. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm glad it's got a good home.
Yeah, that is a good page.
All right. So let's see here. Lot 17 next. And
this was Walker facing Satan.
As you do.
Yeah. I don't remember the details of this. I think Satan, we had a character who got their powers of shadow and darkness from evil. And this is literally, Satan shows up in the comic. And there are some pretty horrifying things that happen. I think the page after this, that is a kind of a famous, one of the only sort of arguments Brian and I had during Powers. And it's very adult. So I'm not sure if you want me to tell the story or not, but really happy with the page. Getting to draw this. One of the things I've not gotten a chance to do is I'd love to do some sort of really deep horror stuff. I'm not a horror guy. I don't watch a lot of horror films, but I think for the pacing and the lighting, the noir, looking at that top panel is a good example of what I think would really be fun to do in a horror book or a Vertigo-y kind of thing.
Sure.
Would be a lot of fun.
I also love the shadow. The Satan is casting.
Yeah, he has wings in his shadow, but he doesn't have wings on him.
Right.
One of the things that really imprinted on me was the film Dracula by not Scorsese, not De Palma.
No, it just.
I can't believe I'm forgetting.
I know it just flew out of my head.
Yeah. Well, the Dracula film from the 90s had some of the best stuff in there. One of the things that he did, and I think he took it from a silent film, was a shadow moving independently from the creature, and that always seemed to me to really define evil in a brilliant way.
Yeah, that was so great.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, now you're making me. It's ringing a bell for me now too. Somebody in the chat.
Yeah. A Winona Ryder and
Keanu Reeves. It's just created as I've created a mental block for all three of us. Oh yeah, Coppola. Yeah, Francis Ford Coppola. Yeah. One of my favorite films. Period.
All right. Well, I guess we don't need to learn the one of the few times you and Brian got into an argument about a story plot. But
it's so messed up.
Yeah. But so this one's still there.
Without going into detail, who won?
Oh, that's a good day. Yeah, there we go. Who won the argument at the end of the day?
I think everybody lost. When Brian and I fight, everybody loses.
Good.
That's well said. See, very diplomatic.
It's the most ridiculous thing too. But it is so adult because what happens on the page, it's a lot.
Oh, Mike says the fans won. Okay.
Thanks, Mike. Mike took me shopping a couple weeks ago.
What's that?
I said Mike took me shopping a couple weeks ago. I have to thank him for that.
New outfits.
Yeah, got me some new outfits and stuff. we play Helldivers together, and like it's a video game, and I didn't know you could upgrade your character, so I was just sitting on all this like upgrades, and he was like, yeah, so he showed me how to get new stuff. I was like, oh, you took me shopping, awesome.
Yeah, I've heard. I don't get to play video games anymore, but I get PC Gamer magazine, so I stay on top of everything. I've heard great things about that game. Makes me want to play. If I could just cobble together an hour here or there, I think that would be the game I'd probably gravitate to these days.
I can only play because by the end of the day, I'm just spent and done with everything. So like my last couple hours at night, I'll indulge in some stupidity. But it's such a fun game. I haven't played an online game since Left 4 Dead, which was like over 10 years ago or something. And,
I played that a lot. Yeah. I'd have a friend and I, we would literally, just create our own server, and the two of us would go in and we would play like the same map over and over again. Yep. we beat our last, length of time surviving this, this undead horde coming through. And it was always fun. We'd just be laughing and crying. Yeah. Oh man. So that brings back
good time.
All right, let's see. What do we got next here? Lot 18 is the next one, and this is priced at $450. And does it have any notes on this one? Yeah, it says 27 and 13 in that top area. 27 and 13.
So probably issue 27, page 13. Yeah, and this is the Simons just going to town, beating the crap out of people. The Simons, like, it's interesting. They hold on, my cats are misbehaving over here. The Simons were interesting because they had these powers of duplicating, but that was it. So basically, they were just like a one-man gang going around beating the crap out of people. And I think that's my draw of pachinko machines.
I was, I actually figured that's what those were. I've played pachinko before. You did all right. I thought that visually it came through. Oh, your cat's with you now. Yeah,
they usually get fed at 12, so they're telling us now.
Yeah, it's like you're late.
But I really like that Simons figure at the top, the punching one.
Oh yeah, no, that's fantastic. Yeah, and T.E. Mason Lot 4 was not claimed. It's still available. So I wanted you to know that, but yeah, no, it's a great page. Love the last panel too. So this is
the high contrast is a lot of fun.
Yeah, $450 on Lot 18. Oh, and T.E. Mason has gone on and claimed Lot 4. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you,
T.E. Mason.
All right. Gonna have to open up an Oeming museum.
Yeah. Let's see here. We got 3 more pieces to look at. So Lot 19 is next. This one's priced at $500, and it's a little different when you look at this one. It's not heavy in the darks.
Yeah.
But it works really well. It's just a little different approach to your storytelling in a page. But I really like this one a lot.
There's a lot of black spotting on that. There is heavy blacks there. The line work, the actual brush that I use, I think I use only a tiny bit of brush, and the majority of it is in pen, or a very, very thin brush. I'm not sure. And that's one of the things that that's how I like to convey energy on a page, is often by using either like a very thin pen, ballpoint pen, or just a very, very thin line. I feel like even without a lot of definition, it creates a sense of energy. And I'm not sure why, but it always feels like that way. So this is what happens here. Is this dude, he's blowing up somebody else, and I think this might be. No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure which storyline this is from. It might be from the FG3 storyline.
There's a little note. It's hard to read. I think it says 2020 in the top right.
Okay.
And then it's noted on the back, secret identity.
Not as near. But
yeah. Got it.
And
it's funny on this page. The main thing I like is this little burnt piece of paper falling in the upper left-hand side.
I can understand why.
Sometimes there's a detail like that sells a piece.
Sure. I saw Josh Flanders claim Lot 10, so I highlight that again so everybody can see that. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, John.
And TE, my voice is a little froggy today, but I did say TE. I can trust me. I wrote it down that way too. I know my TE Masons from my email. But I like that first panel too. It's awesome. And again, it's back to that whole, you don't really care about panel structure. I mean, as far as like being perfect, I appreciate that in your work. You kind of let the page and the story, the way you want to tell the story, kind of define how the panels are laid out.
I have a weird philosophy about allowing mistakes or imperfections to really shine. And it's definitely not like a laziness or a sloppiness. There's something about it that, like even when I scan a page and I see that there's some dirt on the scanner, just depending on where it's at, I might just leave it. Even though it doesn't take time to take off, there's something about, it's almost like an archaeology that's buried in the process to be able to see. When I work digitally, sometimes things are so clean, I have to go through and like trace over perfectly straight lines to give them a sense of life, like I'm almost faking an imperfection sometimes with the digital stuff. So there's something about like just hand measuring out panels where they're not perfect, unless it's a scene that calls for that. Like if there's a scene that's like inside of a computer's mind, or if I was drawing like an Age of Ultron kind of thing or something, right? It would make sense to make everything perfect. But I really, really do like, there's something about leaving imperfections. Yeah. Even like white dots in black, whether the pixel didn't fill digitally or my brush didn't do the right thing or something. I don't quite know why, but I find it very attractive. It makes it, I don't know, just makes it feel more real. Kind of like when you look at those IDW art books and you see like coffee stains and stuff like that, and you see the process. It's the process is telling a story.
I love that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That leaves a little bit to chance. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's one of the reasons I love prelim stuff more than finished art, because you get more story from a prelim. Almost, like you get a sense of like what they're thinking. It's that's really neat.
Seeing the thought process.
I agree. Let's see, we got 2 more pieces to look at here. So lot 20 is next. And I don't see a note on this one on either side. So tell me about this one.
I just love these cops. I wish we done more with the side characters, the other police officers and stuff. But I remember this, and you can see Walker and Dina are here on the page, and they're talking to cops who just saw some like if I remember correctly, they just saw some really horrible stuff. So they're talking to them afterwards, but like their reaction to seeing something horrible was to just binge in the lunchroom. Like they came close to death. So like their instinct is to just grab the food, start making sandwiches, just stuff it in their face, and they're telling them, some horrible thing as this is going on, and it was just a lot of fun.
That feels real. I feel like I could absolutely relate to that.
Those are my favorite parts that Brian would write in Powers. Like, there were big action sets and stuff, but sometimes he would just find the right reaction, the right human reaction to some crazy thing happening, and that was always the most exciting thing for me. These characters just flipping out after something horrible was a delight.
It's awesome. The second panel is just great. The look on his face, you can tell unhappy. All right, so this one's still available. We got one more to look at here.
That's been clean.
Sorry, I almost moved away before I saw that. Marcelo.
Marcelo, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, and you got the story behind it too.
That's great. Let's see, one more here. Where was that one? Okay, here we go. Lot 21. So we have another Powers interior page priced at $450, and I don't know.
This is a big moment. This is a big moment in Powers. So you can see Walker and Enki working with the Federal Bureau of Investigations, and this is Dina when it's revealed that she's had been infected by the Powers virus, and this is where it like kind of explodes in front of everybody. And she's literally just overloading with power. So she's just killed. Who was it? It wasn't Wolf. But she didn't kill Wolf. I think she overpowered him at this stage. There was, because I remember that's Callista in the foreground, because it was Callista and Dina who were teaming up, sort of like off the books on this stuff. And so she's just about to explode with her own powers and stuff. And I think Trip Hammer shows up after this to save her, because basically she's just ready to explode, and Enki's ready to shoot her before she explodes and kills everybody. And Walker's, obviously doesn't know what to do. He's locked up emotionally. So yeah, that's that page.
Well, and again, it's a little different. Obviously, it's very bright first panel. It's just, this is a really great layout on this one, and it was claimed by Eldon. Again, thank you, Eldon.
Thank you. That. Thank you, Eldon. That's a good page for you.
It's like Andrew claimed lot 5. Is that was still available?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew.
Nice pickup there. All right. Well, then we made it through all 21 lots here. What we can do is recap the pieces that are still available. And we thank everybody for picking up our work today. Remember, I want you to email me after the show, bill@comicartfans.com. And, you let me know which pieces you picked up. It's always best to give me your mailing address right from the beginning, because, it helps me calculate shipping, and I'd rather not have to ask for it later. And if you already know which payment methods are available to you, let me know. Remember, Zelle, Venmo, personal check is fine too. Hey, we can work all that out. I'd rather not do PayPal, but we do take PayPal too with a fee. So let's take a look at the lots that didn't sell. Let's go back up to lot number 1. That was the Retro Girl Powers TV piece that was used on a napkin, and so it was actually printed in some way. This is on 11x17. So this one's at $400, and let me see here. E. Mason got lot 2, so then lot 3.
One way I'll pitch the viewers on that Retro Girl piece. For $400, my commission prices for that is usually about $500. So
that's one way to
it's actually cheaper than a commission.
Right. I agree. Anybody that would want to get a piece from you at a show, that a nice finished piece is gonna be paying more than that. So I knew that's when you laughed when it was a 4-character piece and it was priced. Yeah. So that first one, again, is
Mike Robin is asking about the Thor piece, if it was claimed yet.
Oh, no, it was not, Mike. That is still available. That was sorry, I don't have it in front of me here. That was lot 11. That one is still available. Yeah. So let me see here.
Ironic if he bought it, because he lives out here, not that far from me. So I shipped it out there. It'll come back to him.
Yeah.
It's interesting, the path artwork takes to get to the eventual owner of it. That's right, lot 3. So this is the cover prelim to Powers Annual 1. It's done on 8.5 by 11, and I think like Mike, you said, it's there's definitely pencil, ballpoint pen on this one. Frazetta homage in its own way, priced at $350.
And I think you can see the pencil marks pretty clearly on there on the originals.
Oh yeah, no, I know it doesn't. You don't see it too well, but it's like those gray lines are all pencil. I think I forget how. I think you don't scan in grayscale, do you? Or maybe you do. I don't. I think it. I have a hard time getting pencils to show up well when I do my scans, but you can see all the work in this one. And Mike did claim lot 11.
Oh, thanks, Mike.
Yep, there you go. Congrats, Mike. Proud owner of the Thor.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. So let's see. 4, 5, and 6 did sell. So let's take a look at lot 7 here.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take Mike shopping.
Yeah. This was the Cover to Powers Bureau number 2 on 11 by 17, priced at $1,000. Then 8, 9, 10, 11 all sold. So then lot 12 is our next one here. We got the interiors. This was one that was priced at $450. We also have lot 13 that was priced at $600. You get 2 interior pages on one 11 by 17 with that one. That one's very unique. And then we have lot 14 here, priced at $450. Then 15 and 16 did sell. And I'm sorry, I really am losing my voice. I apologize. But let's see, lot 17 is the next one. That's priced at $450. You get Satan in a showdown with Walker. That's pretty good. And then lot 18 here. This one's priced at $450 as well. And the only other unsold piece is lot 19, priced at $500. So not too bad.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for the support and listening to us blab.
Oh, blabbing is the most fun we get to have on here. But yeah, let everybody know. A lot of people watch the shows after the fact because they can't tune in live. So any of those pieces you saw, if you're interested in any of those, please email me, bill@comicartfans.com, and I'll let you know if it's still available. And we can work things out after the show. For everybody who did claim during the show, please email me right after the show, and I will get back to you, and we'll work out payment and shipping information and all of that. So Michael, Taki, as always, this is a lot of fun. I really appreciate getting to hang out with the both of you.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having us on. Thanks for helping us spread the word. If you're interested in more stuff, you can check out my website at michaeloeming.com. I think there's a link in there for our newsletter, which is sort of the easiest way to keep track of projects. And just thank everybody for your support and allowing me to do what I do. I can't do it without, readers and supporters like you, and especially for right now with all this stuff coming out all at the same time. I really appreciate it.
I even just posted your Linktree link.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
So there we go. Now I think we've covered all the bases. But yeah, so again, this is great. And it sounds like when we get to do this again, 6 months or so from now, there's going to be a lot of new, interesting artwork.
William Underberry and Galaxy of Madness, both of those will be out.
That's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. So thank you again. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in on this Saturday afternoon. We sincerely appreciate you spending time with us, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you again soon.